Shalom everyone, my name is John Reed Austin. On behalf of John Reed Austin Ministries, the umbrella for our charitable organization called Wine, Oil, Bread for Heart. First off, I want to thank all of you who participated in one fashion or another to our relief effort towards the hurricane devastation in Guatemala late last year. And many of you either prayed for us during our mission trip, and many of you also contributed generously to help hundreds and hundreds of people who were deeply affected by Hurricane Eta and Iota. Now, our mission was very successful, but far from over. We were able to bond with current partners to encourage them and be a blessing financially, spiritually, mentally, and physically on an ongoing basis. Now, we also developed new opportunities to help restore many other ministries and plan to return in the near future to continue to help others in need. So what we have done is put together a video as a way of saying thank you for supporting our vision and to show you how your prayer and financial support helped the needy of Guatemala. We arrived in Guatemala City, the nation's capital, on a Friday afternoon in December as the season of Hanukkah ended and the season of Christmas was about to begin. As you can imagine, since the beginning of COVID-19, traveling has become much harder than it used to be. It is mandatory now to have a COVID test 72 hours before you enter the country. So consequently, it is very pricey to get one in that time frame versus just getting a free one, which takes up to 2 weeks for results. Getting through customs is much harder too, because the lines are longer, slower, and stricter, while they scrutinize everybody coming into the country to make sure they have temperature checks and they authenticate documents for COVID tests. People in society have changed also, because they are openly hostile towards you, which can really try anyone's patience. We had a lot of cancellation issues because of COVID, and that caused major headaches. Our original airline canceled our flight 2 days before departure without even notifying us, and we had to purchase new tickets with a different airline. Even rent-a-car agencies canceled until the 4th time because of COVID. Originally, there would be 4 of us going on the trip from the States, and several other family members would join us upon our arrival for Shabbat in a very nice apartment in a newly developed city called Kayala. The next day, we finally secured a rent-a-car for our 3-week mission, and while at the apartment, we spent some time on the rooftop swimming pool and surveyed the skyline and witnessed an active volcano erupting.
Puro calidad. Mira que comienza, pues mírala ve.
Later that day, we spent the evening with the pastor and his family for dinner at his house and went to his rooftop to view the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction with the moon nearby. It would turn out to be very fortunate that there was no clouds in the sky to view the conjunction, because we would see nothing but rain for the next week ahead. The next day, we hit the ground running. What is our role?
¿Cuál es nuestro papel?
To pray at all times.
Orar en todo tiempo.
For this is the will of God.
Esta es la voluntad de Dios.
To have a successful trip.
Que tengamos un viaje muy exitoso.
In addition to my wife, daughter, and myself, a nephew and 2 nieces would join us on the team, while the mother-in-law, who came with us originally, would stay behind in Guatemala City, and meet us in another place in Coban a few days later. We piled all our suitcases and 6 of us in a 15-passenger van for the first leg of our trip and drove 4 hours north to the city of my wife's place of birth called Coban. Upon arriving to Coban, we pick up the 7th member of our team, Cecia's aunt affectionately called Tia Chiqui. She used to be a school teacher for children in rural areas, so this was something she was very excited about. After 2 more hours of driving further north, we arrived to our first mission city called La Tinta, and there we would meet contacts Sandra and Nicodemus Choke.
You don't understand me, but we were waiting for you. Be welcome.
It's going to be good. Worth waiting for.
Yes.
They had been waiting for us to join them for a special event to celebrate 4 years of ministry called Brigada Green. Originally, it was planned to be an outdoor event, including myself doing a concert in the city square, but the government red zoned it as a high-risk COVID area, so consequently, it had to be downsized and moved to a private indoor location. The program began with me doing a concert with the saxophone. All those who had been a part of the mission were present, and even the residents from the shelter all came for the event.
Especial. Pero por medio de las redes sociales nos están viendo nuestros hermanos y queremos mandarle un saludo muy especial a todos nuestros hermanos, amigos, a nuestros ángeles de bendición que nos siguen.
We had made quite an impression on the local authorities of the community because of our financial support, so they were also there to meet us. They are known as Cocodes, which are authorities of the surrounding villages that include police and fire chiefs. We were given special gifts to honor us for our giving, including a dinner and follow-up with the city authorities that attended. We also presented gifts from Israel to honor the president and vice president of the organization because of their delight in keeping the Sabbath and their love for Israel. After the evening of events, we went to stay at a beautiful, quaint hotel owned by one of the donors of the foundation, Otto Diafuerte. This would be our 3rd time staying at this hotel. Otto is a collector of antiques, mostly from America and Cuba, proudly displayed on the hotel grounds with many beautiful flowers. He also has animals such as chickens and peacocks that roam the place too. Our daughter has taken a liking to him and calls him Tio, which is Spanish for uncle. He loves her so much that one morning he took her to a dairy farm nearby to milk a cow for breakfast. The next morning, after breakfast with Otto and his family, we went to the market to purchase over $1,000 of food for the farmers that had been devastated by the floods caused from Hurricanes Eta and Iota.
He wants you to say hi.
The food included 1,000 pounds of corn, 1,000 pounds of beans, and 350 bottles of oil. The food was loaded onto a small pickup truck, and amazingly, it held up all 2,000 pounds of food, where it would be driven to the ministry headquarters and processed, and then loaded once again to be driven to the edge of the village separated from Tinta by 2 rivers. We're at the headquarters of Brigada Green, and this is all of your donations being put to work. We're giving all this food away today while I do a concert. This right here is the oil. One family will get a bottle of oil, and they'll also get all this different grains. There's corn, there's beans, and I believe there may be one other thing, salt. All right, so I'm taking one bottle, and this is your donation. This is the gospel being preached. Yeshua, Jesus, he even fed the 4,000 and the 5,000 before he could minister to them. We're taking one bottle of these black beans. So we just fed 300 people plus with your donations today. Thank you so much for being a part of our ministry, Wine, Oil, Bread for Heart. You can still give. That's wineoilbreadforheart.org.
Qué lindo tu pollito. Have a good time with this pets. Qué chulo. Takes an army. Are we getting ready for today's event? Estamos listos para embarcarnos en el cayuco y pasar al otro lado del río. So we're ready, John, to cross the river.
Oh, the vultures. people of the village are cut off from modern communication, and half the bridge had been washed away from the flood. So the only way to get everyone with all the food is by kayak. It was raining all day, so it was muddy. The river was swift, so we had to keep our balance standing up as we teetered across. And then we would navigate over rocks and long boards where the bridge once stood. After walking about half a mile through jungle, we arrived at a concrete structure where hundreds were awaiting our arrival. I gave a concert and an encouraging message under the awning outside the building to protect the sound equipment and instruments from getting wet. And when the rain would let up, I'd go out into the crowd serenading children and adults. It was probably the first time they ever saw a white guy playing the saxophone and being all nice to them. And they didn't even care it was raining. After the concert, we had all the farmers line up to receive the bags of food. Many had lost all their crops which had been washed away from the floods. At the beginning, we collected names of all the families to avoid repetition of food given to the same families. But calling the names was time-consuming, and the sun was beginning to set. And with no electricity, we didn't want to risk injury crossing back over the two rivers. So we just handed the bags out by faith, and if someone got double portions, well, we just hoped that every family got food. Amazingly, we had 2 bags left over and headed back across the river before it got dark. What we gave seemed so simple to us, but for them, this is all they have. Here in America, we have refrigeration to preserve our food for weeks, but there, they don't even have any way to preserve food even for a day. So getting a week's supply of corn, beans, and oil was like winning the lottery for them. So they were so excited and grateful. We had over 400 people and got somehow multiplied the 350 bags of food because everyone got a bag and went home happy, and we still had 2 bags left.
Como que fuera de terraza, se va a ver la de afuera para adentro.
Oh, wow. Qué grande. ¿Para cuántas personas?
On the third day in La Tinta, we went to visit other projects that we fund, some of them a work in progress. Sandra was so excited to show us where our money had been distributed. We visited a church that had outgrown itself, so they tore it down to build a bigger facility twice the size. It was still under construction with walls already built and was almost ready to have a roof put on.
Edificar el templo, dice la hermana Ceci. Lo que ustedes están haciendo es de gran bendición porque es el templo de Dios.
After visiting the church, Sandra took us to follow her husband Nicodemus to the edge of this mountain. We parked on the side of the road to continue off-road in a Land Rover with Nicodemus until there was no more road, except for a steep muddy trail due to the steady drizzle of rain. Normally in La Tinta, the weather is very hot and humid, so the rain was actually a blessing. From there we unloaded the vehicle, and with the help of some kids nearby, we carried wooden sectional beds to the top of the mountain with a family of 9 people, including children living in the house, no bigger than a master bedroom, approximately 20 by 12. with dirt floors, palm leaves for a roof, and bamboo walls.
Deslizar.
Don't slide because the mud.
I know.
Que le digan dónde.
Unfortunately, we had to wait on the mattresses for the beds because they all washed away in the floods. Only a special mattress can be used in this type of climate, so the mattresses would have to wait for now. The rest of the crew.
Ya van llegando, ya van llegando.
Look at little puppies. Stay over to the right side, Ellie, so you don't slip.
No, Tuti, quédate ahí en el camino, te vas a resbalar.
Better over here.
Ya llega la Ale.
Oh my goodness, Tita got up here with her
¿Y usted creyó que ya había terminado con las aldeas? La vengo a poner de regreso. De regreso. Bien.
So inside here, they're replacing hammocks that have worn holes through it. They're on their last leg. They don't even have a stove or refrigeration. She has like a mound that's surrounded by wood where it's got burning embers. See, that's their stove. That's what they cook their food and keep it warm with. And this is the hammock that they're replacing.
Chucho. Look at the dog.
I know. Now they got beds to sleep on. This is what they sleep on, right here. So for this family of 9, all they have to eat is a fruit that resembles a watermelon called masapong, which tastes a little bit like a potato when it's cooked.
En la noche que venimos, que dimos la vuelta.
Es son los que duermen aquí los tres.
Solo voy a poner aquí.
¿Y si se escondieron? Es son los que duermen aquí los tres.
Wow.
After we finished assembling the 4 beds, we prayed with the family and then left for another project. Our next stop was at a shelter called Casa de Abuelitos El Buen Samaritano, where we adopt elderly people and a couple with children that guard and nurse about 8 residents. These residents are those who have been abandoned by their own family members after taking them far away to get lost, just simply because they didn't want to care for them anymore. We brought a 2-week supply of food for the family that cooks for them, which we had purchased from the marketplace.
Esta es la abuelita, la abuelita.
Que para uno ser sabio se tiene que juntar con sabios.
Amén.
¿Verdad?
We 3 kings. One lady has special needs, who is blind in a wheelchair. When she first came to the shelter, she was very malnourished, but has now recovered and is much better now.
Hay gas todavía.
This is their kitchen area. That includes a refrigerator that we purchased the last time we were there.
Sí. Ajá. Tómemeles una foto todos ahí, porfa. Que se nos-
Estamos tomando café.
Ooh, cake, pastel.
Hey, babe.
Coffee and cake.
¿Tacuaj la café?
When you have coffee and cake, it's coffee cake.
Sí, Bantiosh.
Bantiosh. Our next stop was to a piece of land that was donated where there are 5 to 6 single-family dwellings known as To Coban. There are 2 or more homes that are currently under construction, but materials are still short in supply due to the weather. They have nothing but a towel and a few changes of clothes. So we gave them clothing and some food and prayed with them.
Se les dio y cada uno pasa, hermanita, paz. Y cada casita se tiene que hacer su sanitario. Como aquí no hay drenaje, son pozos ciegos, se les va proveyendo el material. Esta todavía no falta terminar. Esa es la otra que se va a entregar. Y esa es la que estamos trabajando ahorita. Todavía no se falta un poquito, pero sí nos hace falta el bañito. Dejamos una puerta para atrás. Y estos son los pequeños techos mínimos que se están haciendo, que se están trabajando. Ya sé,
Palitas.
Ah, sí.
Como bambú.
como bambú. ¿No?
Listen
Esa
to
es la
this
otra
lady
casita
who
que
shares
nos
her
va a
testimony
entregar.
about how the organization has helped her.
pero gesito na wa ai nes etan tes all an yo sel kha ko li hok an ro an an ki so atu am
Amén.
ke dios te angre gan kan na an sta ta li por ta kan ku en na ti si ati ko ali shim ha ban nes et sa on nes is atang asat en por nes ele ko ni ko nes na na ko instik angele ko dios ko angele dios pues de ni que se all como kana ko kan le ni que se le o ni que se all hermano ni hermana pa que otros porque hermano con el ese all hermano que ese all ay yo seré le kulunik dios te angere a como en de rock nero que kulun chakil bal le tijal kan ganaw na kakain pero gis kulun es kabal kara pa chakil bal gis kulun sa kanya angkil kasi ki o si el cuate hermano
Ellos llegaron,
Llegamos, no
no
había,
había nada. Mientras
There is a plan to bring an electrical line that would be connected from one pole to another, separated by about the equivalent of one city block. In our previous trip, we purchased a refrigerator for the grandpa and grandma shelter, so this would be great when they get electricity lined in so that we can purchase another refrigerator for Teco Minimum projects.